This one goes out to the Artcasters. Ooh, Artcasters! I say you're catching your spell, Artcasters. Catching your spell. Ooh, you're gonna cast that spell. Strike a hell. Whoa! Ooh. Hi, 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 hi.
I love that. Anytime I hear that Axel intro, I want to do the.
Aye, 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 aye.
For those of you who are not ancient gentlemen like the host of this show, Axl Rose, when he performed, did this traditional sway. That was like, anyhow, all right, welcome Dylan. We got Keeman, got Frank in the chats. We got everybody saying hi and pumped. Today we have a special guest, and we thought it would be appropriate to actually make that special guest one of our hosts, Mr. Scott Serkland.
Special guest that's always here.
Yeah. So to make it short and sweet, I'll plug my stuff and then we'll guide you to where Scott wants to go, because he has a Kickstarter right now that you guys should be paying attention to, and stay tuned to kind of hear more details. Will be revealed throughout the stream about things on the tiers and all kinds of fun stuff for the Kickstarter. Make sure you stay tuned. Frank said I sound a little robotic. I'm noticing that too.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on there. Let's see.
Right. Yeah, it just every once in a while it kind of drops off, but it's not constant.
Is this better? Is this better? What about this? Is this better? Much better?
It sounds fine.
Not better at all?
Oh, I don't know. It sounded fine to me, but it just every once in a while it's kind of weird thing. But
yeah, I don't know. My audio is a little strange today, so which is strange. I haven't changed anything on that up. So let me double check that it's all set up. Check. Yep, that's about as good as I can do. So okay, so Keeman said tonight's show is going to be pretty self-explanatory. Exactly. So if you guys haven't yet.
Hopefully there'll be some
yeah.
It's not just me. It is me promoting my thing, but it's also hopefully talking about a few things for anyone that might be interested in, marketing their books, Kickstarter and finishing books and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, Scott's going to be sharing a lot of insights from the launch and stuff that I think will help people out. And I think Scott has gleaned a lot from his years of doing Kickstarters and also listening to other people talk about their Kickstarters. So it won't hurt to get that extra info. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of being with a project for as long as we did, as long as he was. So before we get into the topic, I'm Joshua Kemble. On my channel, if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when we go live. As we're going, if you guys feel like getting a super chat or two, feel free. And then aside from that, make sure you check out Jacob's Apartment, which is a story about long lost lovers that are polar opposites and find themselves drawn together because of tough life circumstances. They're roommates. One has their father die and the other is going through a breakup. And both are kind of questioning their identity and purpose. And as they are drawn together in real life, their dreams and reality start interweaving. And so it's kind of like if you took Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, put it in a blender with Ghost World. If you like that flavor, you'd probably like the doomed romance Jacob's Apartment, which you can get at bookstores everywhere and you can get on Amazon. And then there's also two stories which talks about it's a confessional graphic novel, black and white indie classic type book. And that talks about faith and mental illness. And those are my two wares that you can get at Amazon and stuff like that. And then I have music on Spotify and stuff like that. Scott, where can everybody find you? And most importantly, where should they be finding you in the next? I can't remember how long these campaigns run, but is it?
You can set them for however long you want. I
Yeah.
think I'm sure there's some kind of limit, but it's just a little less than a month. I think it ends on May. I launched it yesterday, and it ends on May 1st. So
Okay. So there's a link as well to this thing, but Scott, where should people go to find your stuff?
Yeah. So the only thing I'm gonna mention today, because I keep it simple, straightforward, is my Kickstarter for my comic book Young and the Dead. The complete story is finally finished. Or if you've been collecting it along the way, you can also get like the final single issue, or like I said, the full trade. And there's all kinds of different tiers and stuff, and you can check that out. But I make it super easy to get to. Just go to youngandthedead.com, and that will take you right to the Kickstarter. So that's one of the I guess hacks or tips or things that we'll talk about probably tonight, and that's get a custom URL. If you're going to run a Kickstarter, get a custom, easy to say URL, because first of all, a lot of places kind of will, if you put a URL like in social media, a lot of times that will stop. It'll kind of hinder your ability to share it out, because the platforms know that, and they want to keep people on the platform. So if you just say what it is, and something that's easy to type. Also, an actual Kickstarter URL is like super long and everything, and you don't want that. So just make it super easy. Create a custom URL, and if you could buy that, and then if you don't say, I'll probably use youngandthedead.com again for something else. But you can always just get a one-time thing for whatever the minimum is a year, purchase it and use it, and then you don't have to re-up it if you're not going to run another Kickstarter. But just that's one of the things that I would tell people to do that seems pretty helpful.
I love it. That's actually a great piece of advice. So Scott, what's that URL again? One more time.
youngandthedead.com.
I love it. Okay. So let's get into it. So I'm not sure where we should start, so I'm going to let you pick. Do you want to get into the journey of making this thing, and kind of completing it? Do you want to get into that first, or do you want to start getting into like more nuts and bolts of the Kickstarter campaign and then dig into the more kind of personal story later? I'm going to let you pick kind of which direction
I guess
you
let's
feel.
just go in chronological order. You have to make the thing before you can, run a
Yeah, that's
Kickstarter
what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
So Young and the Dead, this starts like, I'd say almost 10 years ago, right?
Probably, I say 10 years, even though I think it's more, but 10 is a nice round number. It's more than over 10 years. And plus, if I say, if it happens to be 12 or 13, then that makes me sound a little more like a slacker for 6 issues. I haven't really calculated. I don't know for certain, but I know it's definitely more than 10 years.
So if we go back in time to like day one, Young and the Dead kind of being created, Dylan said, "Love the old robots." Thanks, Dylan. This is a revision for a client, so I'm changing up a little mild things on the line work. Had to move the hand, the grabber thing. Mm-hmm. What are those things called?
Claw, I think. I think it's just called a claw.
The claw, yeah, it's just the claw.
The claw.
Yeah. That claw. That was a great bit from that movie. So I have to like move that, center it, and then anyhow, whatever. So the Young and the Dead, let's go back to like the inception of it, like the very beginning. How does this idea come about, and what drives you to make it? I think it started as like a mini comic, right?
Yeah. And I've told the story a few times, so I'll try to keep it a little brief because I've told it so many times, especially recently. But so Kevin Cross, our mutual friend Kevin Cross, created a challenge called the Mini Comic Dump Truck, where they got a bunch of comic artists together. Everyone creates a mini comic. The stipulation that you have to do it in, I think it was 3 months' time. You have to produce it, and it has to be 8 pages or more, which mine ended up being more. So that was kind of the stipulation. In the end, everyone that creates a mini comic, you trade them back. So you create one mini comic, and then you trade it among everyone else in the group, and you get a whole bunch. So it was a really cool challenge. I think he did it once before I knew about you before I even really knew Kevin. I think he did it. I think he did it once before. This was the second time he did it. And yeah, there was a bunch of really cool artists. Chris Calgula was in it. Roger Langridge, bunch. Yeah, just tons of people. That was back in the Art and Story days. Back, I remember. If anyone remembers Art and Story, Mark Rudolph was in it. Yeah, just a bunch of awesome people. And I've got a lot of those really cool mini comics. I mean, some of them, there were some of them that like were screen printed and glow in the dark, and so everyone's trying to do their best to make, a lot of people like myself included would do, we do custom like die cuts and things like that, all kinds of cool stuff. So they're really cool pieces of artwork. But the idea was, okay, so I got to create this mini comic. What do I do? And so because it was 8 pages, I was just trying to think of something simple. And I'm like, okay, what's something like a zombie story? That could be fairly simple. And so I had a couple ideas. One I won't mention because I may do it, and it's like the whole idea is sort of a spoiler thing. It's it's something that I might do in the future because it'd be a fun story to tell. So I had this one idea, and then I had Kids versus Zombies, kind of like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. I always say that's the pitch. And because I was always a fan of those movies, and this is because, like I said, going back over 10 years, this is before Stranger Things. This is before even J.J. Abrams' Super 8 movie, where he was kind of the first one to kind of like, oh, remember those movies that did that? I'm going to homage that. So, and this was even before that. Probably it might have been like a good year and a half before that. So, a little bit before that. But so yeah, I mean, I just kind of came up with this idea, and I'm like, oh, okay, that'd be fun. Well, and I'll just set a story. We'll have kids fighting zombies, and then I start writing it, and then I start creating the characters and stuff, and I don't know, it just I just started really digging the characters, and the story stuff. It's like, oh, this actually might go somewhere other than, oh, the kids fighting zombies and then they win and then that's it. And that's the end of the 8-page story. Eventually, that 8-page story became a full 22-page comic.
I think that's great. It's interesting too because Chris was doing it at the same time. I think in that same round, and his was the Sunless Circus, which is his big pet project that he's started and worked on ever since. So that there was something really special about those mini comic dump trucks. Anyhow, sorry. So then what happens?
So I finished that comic, and there was more of a story to tell. I mean, it kind of ended in a cliffhanger. I'm like, okay, well, I get to continue this. And then I think when I started doing the second issue, that's when I really started planning out, coming up with how it was going to end and stuff. And I think by the time I got around to 3, I pretty much had the whole idea kind of laid out. I think at one point it might have been 5 issues, and then it ended up taking 6 to tell. And even this final issue 6 is like an oversized issue. So there's about an extra 10 pages compared to what the standard issue is, and there's an epilogue and everything. So yeah, I mean but I'm pretty proud of it. I mean, even from the beginning, there's callbacks and things from the very first issue, and so yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it's gone and the way it wrapped up, and so yeah, I'm excited to bring it out to everyone.
Yeah, and so out of curiosity, just to like touch on a few things in there. One, like, how long do you envision it taking you to kind of do originally?
Oh, it's weird because part of me I say that well, one of the reasons, and this is my number. You probably heard this from me ad nauseum, but one of the things I always tell people, if you're going to create a comic, start small. Don't start huge. So that's one of the reasons, because don't start with a graphic novel. Mm-hmm. There's a big debate over floppies, and a lot of people say, floppies, you don't need floppies anymore or whatever. Floppies are a great benchmark. You create a single issue and then you can collect them as a trade, because to me, if you have those benchmarks along the way, it's not like, oh, I got to create 150 some odd 8-page graphic novel. No, I'm creating what was originally an 8-page, and then it turned into 22. But I'm starting small, and then oh, I've hit this first milestone, issue 1, and then issue 2, and then so otherwise it would have just been too overwhelming, and maybe I couldn't have pulled it off. So that's one tip I give. But as far as there were times where I'm like, man, I don't know if I'll ever get this thing done. And but also then I look back and say, man, it took me forever to get this thing done. So I don't know. It's to me, it's just persistence. Even though it's not always what I've been working on.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing, because to me, it's really impressive that you have joined the club of finishers again. Yeah. I mean, you've been in the club, but you joined a new special club because now you have a full trade.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that
for lack of, I'm not real big on semantics. You can call it whatever you want. I like the term comics, but some people find the term graphic novel more prestigious. Whether you call it graphic novel or a big comic, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I created a big comic / graphic novel.
What did Kevin used to call them? Chubbies?
Chubbies, yeah. Floppies and chubbies, yeah.
But it's I agree. It's like I use graphic novel just because like when we're in a world where we have language to communicate, most people know what that means, Whereas if I start even saying trade or collection, like people are like, what is that? And it's like, a graphic novel. They're like, oh, okay. But
and maybe I should have said graphic novel in the pitch, because I think I put the complete collection, because to me, no matter how you phrase it or whatever, at least they know that this is the full thing. And that was really important when I launched the Kickstarter, is for people to know that this just wasn't another issue, that this was the full story, because I think there's a subset of people that aren't going to be interested in reading it unless they can get that full story.
Yeah, especially in this generation, right? It's like you are going to have your Netflix and Disney Plus type customers that they want the whole thing in one sitting, they want the whole thing to play out. And then there's people who really want to follow along during the making of it. So I love that your Kickstarter is offering options for, like, for me it was really cool because I'm a completist, and so I really wanted to have the last issue, but I also really wanted the graphic novel. And I'm glad you had that tier that catered specifically to somebody like me who's like, well, I can't not have the last issue because I'm a collector, but at the same time, I prefer reading trades. Yeah, and so the fact that you've offered both in like one tier is just beautiful. So I love that.
Yeah, to me, almost it's like the floppies are the collectibles. You can bag those, you can save those, but you read the trade.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty much the case. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't know too many collectible trades. There might be a nice volume that's a really nicely put together trade, but usually trades are just like, oh, that's just for reading, and it's usually not like a collectible.
I have some trades that, especially in the indie comics world, there's specific trades that go up in value like crazy. But my problem is, like, even that like big Winsor McCay Little Nemo book, I've opened it and like dinged it up so much. There's no way I could resell it. Like, it's just like, because it's like used. So it's funny because those things, have shot up in value because it was like a limited run, and it's like, or like my cartoon books. I have one that's signed by Jeff Smith, cartoon books, first trade of Bone, and it's got like a drawing of Bone in it and stuff, but it's like there's no way I'm reselling that. It's like because I've had that book since I was in like 5th grade, So
I've never sold a comic in my life other than my own, that I made to sell for that purpose. But I've never anything I bought. I've never parted with it. To me, it's just
I haven't really gotten rid of. I actually was going through comics a little bit ago in the long box, and I was like, I should like get rid of some of these because there's a bunch that I like. There's some that I just would never get rid of. Even Spawn, weirdly enough, I have like the first like 50-ish issues of Spawn. and I have Spawn #1 signed by Todd McFarlane,
Yeah,
and yeah, and I got the like rare wizard card and everything. Like I was a Spawn nerd, but I don't think I'd be able to part with those, even though I don't really read those anymore.
yeah.
There's a sentimental attachment, but then there's other ones that like, you know, like there's a whole bunch of ones that I think have accrued in value that I have like no interest in. So it'd be interesting to bring them. Anyhow, that's a derail and a side topic. Let's get back on the rails. So, Young and the Dead, the inception happens. You start this project like a long time ago. I think it did, if we're fair, like probably take quite a bit longer than you imagined. Initially. Yeah. And I think that's something to kind of warn people about, like with comics. It's like, because here's the thing, Scott, what's the big paying work? Is it the Young and the Dead for you?
No.
Yeah.
The big paying work is when I do comics for corporations or companies to kind of help get their message across, because I think, my opinion, comics are the best way to communicate ideas. And so my goal is to reach out to companies and convince them of that you want whatever message you are. Every company has a mission. Take that mission and put it into a form of comic. So that's, as far as comic wise, that's what has always done well for me.
I think that's a good thing to kind of just let people know if they're like dipping if they see what you did and they're like, wow, I want to do what Scott did and do a complete graphic novel, I think they should know what they're putting into. Like, it is, for comics are often a labor of love, and you can end up spending, 10 years on a project, you didn't think would take 10 years, partially because you got to keep a roof over your head. You have to keep fed and stuff like that. And so comics, quite often these things are things you're just going to have to chip at and carve at through long periods of time, So you do that though. And this is one of the things I love about you, Scott, is I never had a doubt in my mind since getting to know you that you would finish Young and the Dead. Like you might have, especially the midway point.
Yeah, I mean? I knew given enough time I could, but like, what if I get hit by a truck or something? I don't know. Or just like
that is always the fear, right?
How long is it going to take? And it took a lot longer than I probably thought. But then again, like, it's just this weird thing. Like I said, it took way longer than I thought. But then again, in some ways, I never thought I would finish it. So it's weird.
No, that's amazing, and it's kind of like it's like a 10-year marathon. There's probably, that, especially like, I don't know, even right now, halfway in my graphic novel, I'm having those, oh, am I gonna, get this thing done? And it's like, it has to, I will, but it's, you get plagued by those doubts, like the midway point. What pushes you to finish it? Like, cause in those 10 years, stuff has come up, excuses have come up, like things that could have been like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna put this thing to sleep. What drove you to keep going? And then I guess we can start getting into like, seeing it to fruition.
I think the main thing is just I had a story to tell. Like I said, I had written it out. So I mean, there's a conclusion that I wanted to get to, and I just didn't want to leave it unfinished. I wanted to tell that story, but along the way, there were certain gaps in between there. Certain issues took way longer than I thought. It's weird because the final issue, to actually create the final issue, probably, even though it's probably it is the largest of all the issues, it took the less time, and part of that is attributed to kind of learning about Scott Loss's philosophy with his Slack method. I think that really helped me. But also, even though, I mean, here's the thing, this final issue has been done pretty much for a long time. I mean, it's been done. I mean, how it was completed, I think it was completed way before even our last retreat and everything. But it was also finding the right time to launch this Kickstarter. I wanted to time it around the time maybe people would get the taxes back. There was a lot. I wanted to time it before a big convention, so I'd have them. and it was getting to that point. I kept kind of putting it off until it reached this kind of breaking point where it's like, okay, if I don't fund it now, I'm not going to have them by like Fan Fusion or whatever thing, which I'm going to be a guest at in early June. So
yeah, which is really exciting.
So I gotta get this thing done, because there's like the book was done, and then I was like taking my sweet time with the cover, and then there's 2 covers, because there's a trade cover and then there's a single issue cover and all that. So I just, towards the end, even after it was finished, and this can be, you could ask a psychologist or something, or a therapist or whatever, but like it's weird, because that's sometimes, and I'm like, I mean, part of like I don't think I've ever made it through a novel. Part of it because I have some reading disabilities and things like that. But I'll get so far, and then I'll get almost to the end, and then I just stop. And I don't know. There's some weird thing in my brain on why that is. That maybe I'm afraid to finish it, or maybe So it kind of sat there. It's like the book was done, but
yeah,
am I gonna the amount of time it took for me to actually release it to get to this point? Maybe I was sorry to see it go, because I don't know.
I was curious about that. I was curious about that because there is something strange with living with a project for a really long period of time, and then also getting to the point that, like you were describing, that last issue got done pretty quick, because you have everything dialed in. Like you have process dialed in. Your page sizes. Your formatting. Your character art. The style you're going to be doing it. Like everything's kind of like clockwork. So it's almost like clocking at the job and be able to just knock it out, because you have all the systems in place that took years to build. And like, there is something weird with, putting a period at the end of a sentence. It's like a decade-long relationship, like that's. I do wonder, like, do you think that might have been it, was like stalling? And then aside from that, like, how does that feel at this point? Or is it still kind of like you're kind of in the final throes of the project, because the Kickstarter hasn't wrapped yet, so you're still running. You haven't. I don't know. How do you feel finishing it, or does it not feel finished until trade gets shipped to customers? Like, how do you feel about it right now, like psychologically or whatever, finishing such a crazy project,
Let's see. So first of all, I just want to, because Jim said that my mic was, I pushed the mic a little closer and I turned up the volume.
I'll push mine a little further away.
Just let me know if that's any better. But anyway, so in answer to your question, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's complete. I'm happy with. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing. Like you're kind of have this hesitancy to let it go, but also you're excited for the next comic, and I'm excited to get it out there and move on. And my only thing is that once it is a physical product, promoting it, because I don't know that I want to go fully back into doing cons, and probably cons aren't the best way to sell that stuff. And I don't sell a lot of stuff online. Maybe as far as comic wise, but maybe that's different when I have the full story. I don't know. But, I'm trying to think, well, now that it's finished, how do I, say, I get to the kind of my next goal, which is to get a nice offset printed book, which means that I have to have more copies printed. Am I going to have all these copies sitting in my garage? Am I going to be able to unload them? Am I going to be able to, so there's kind of that thing, so there's still some fears and some things around that, because I have a tendency to finish something and just move on to the next thing, and not like market the things that I already have complete. So.
Yeah, I have that issue. Well, I think that's a common one among creatives, because it's like the creative parts, like again, I know there's a whole culture of people who want to just have AI just draw stuff for them, but I think the culture of creators, like people who like actually making these things, there is a thing about the process that, even though it's kind of a pain in the butt, like we all kind of love it. And so it's weird to kind of spend so much time in process, and it is kind of like, again, like a marathon or something like that, but you're just doing it for the trophy. I mean, the trophy is what guides you to the end, but it's like, or the reward or whatever, or the finish line, whatever it is. But it's like the the process of getting there is what we tend to enjoy and get really engulfed in. And then once you've put so much of yourself in it, it's just really hard. It's hard to like find the want or energy, which is weird because that's the part where you got like in the pavement and being like, look, I made something. But it's that is a hard one to kind of keep going. So let's talk about Kickstarter fully funding in your first day. How did you've talked about kind of getting some tips and stuff on that. Do you want to share some of the things? Because you took a while setting this up too, and it does seem really well set up. So you want to talk about the Kickstarter a bit?
So I guess I'll kind of start there as far as the setup. So since the last time I ran a Kickstarter has introduced a ton of new features, which are really cool. Which some of those features were available before through third parties, but now Kickstarter's implemented them into their own kind of ecosystem or whatever you want to call it. Like the ability to have add-ons. So last time I ran a Kickstarter, I had add-ons, but I had to figure all that out myself at the end. I had to send this survey out and say, okay, what add-ons do you want or whatever, just let me know. But now the way Kickstarter allows you to set anything that any and everything that you have, you put up as an item, and then you can take, once you upload those, and they give you the ability now, and a lot of these they kind of, like I said, borrow from other platforms, like the ability to do add-ons and stuff. That was something that you could get through a company like a third party like BackerKit or something like that. Indiegogo had a lot of unique things, like the ability, like when you show your rewards on the side, to show pictures of what those rewards are, rather than just in your basic story. You could always show those in Kickstarters, but it's nice to have the image of what you're going to back right there. So Indiegogo had that. Indiegogo had the ability to once the campaign concludes, you can have late pledges. So even though it's concluded, you can set up for if anyone missed it. And one of the kind of interesting things that the Kickstarter does, and maybe Indiegogo did that first, I don't know. But the good thing is I've always gone with Kickstarter over other crowdfunding platforms because they have the most people on their platform, so there's the bigger chance that so I'm grateful to these other companies for kind of pushing Kickstarter to integrate those things and everything, and hopefully that'll just continue to go, but all these new features are really cool. So
that is really cool,
dropping all these different things that once you get all your items in there, whether it's an add-on, whether it's something that you can have as a stretch goal or anything like that, then you can take those and put them together as collections, and then it'll pretty much figure out everything. The only thing I couldn't figure out how to do is allow the ability, because my tiers, like for the single issue, is if you want to, you can purchase a single issue, and you can purchase any with that tier. You can pick which single issue you want, and I couldn't figure out how to do that, how to be able to make them select. So that I'll have to send a survey out for. But as far as like if you back any tier and you want to add another issue, then you could pick whatever issue you want. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's really cool that they didn't have when I ran the first Kickstarter. So it takes a little longer to set up, but it's going to save me a lot more time when I'm ready to fulfill this thing. So that was really cool. Like, and there's some learning curve, like, oh, this is new. How do I do this? And, so I had to figure that. And I had been talking to Scott and Keith at Making Comics podcast, because they've run a bunch of Kickstarters more recently than I have. So I kind of picked their brain and got some advice from them and everything. But yeah, so there was and they were kind of like, I think, I think they would admit that they're not really graphic designers. So for, because I asked about, they've got these features where you can put different little pictures of everything, and they're like, we don't really bother with that. But to me, because I can do it myself, and I don't have to hire a graphic designer to do it. Anything that was available for me to do. Aside, there were some other things that I didn't take advantage of. Like there's a secret tier where you can create a tier that no one can see unless you share it with somebody. Like if I wanted to make a special tier for my patrons or something like that, you can do that. That just rolled out like within the last couple months, I think. So there's some I
Nice.
didn't do, but there was a lot of like interesting things. But to me, it's like whatever was available, I took advantage of, and I tried to make it. I took a little more time to do all the graphics, but I think that kind of helped, and anything to add more clarity to that. So I just
Yeah.
took advantage of every single thing I could, and so
How
I
did
took a lot of
you?
time setting it up. But yeah,
Yeah. How did you decide on what the add-ons would be? Because you have a lot of really fun
okay,
add-ons, and I'm just curious
yeah,
how you honed it down to those. Because I think they're all incredible. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends. So the last Kickstarter I did is, and you know this because you participated in it, but I had a variant cover for each issue. And they were all done by different artists. You did issue one. Gary did issue. I think he did three. I think he did. Yeah, he did three. Corey did issue
That's right,
two.
Gary. See, 3, and I did 1. That's right. I'm number 1. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, go
But
ahead.
so I thought about doing, because typically those variant covers they do pretty well. So I thought about stuff, but I was kind of getting close to the end. I'm like, I don't want to take the time to commission people to do additional artwork and stuff like that. So, but what I did do is I had that artwork, and some of those covers I thought would look good as postcards. Yours and Corey's were some of the ones I thought would look good in postcards, because yours kind of relies on the whole look of the graphic design elements as well, because it's kind
Yeah,
of an homage to the EC Comics. If you strip that away, I don't think it's as impactful. So anything that was graphic
agreed.
heavy, I created as a postcard. So I kind of shrunk it down. I designed the back for it, and I made it like a kind of large postcard. And I made a pack of 3 based on those. And then the other 3 covers, like Gary's, Federica's, and Russ Leach's cover, I made as Virgin prints, because, and that's basically the cover without the logo and stuff on it. So even people that might have ordered like the variant covers, now they have the ability to get the print, just the artwork without all the other stuff on it. So I added that as a tier. I'm big in like doing these wax packs now, and since the first Kickstarter, I offered a wax pack, but I hadn't figured out the formula how to make them the perfect way so they're exactly like the originals. Since then, I've done that, so I'm offering wax packs as an add-on. One of the things I did that helped, I think, especially getting people to back in the beginning, is I created sketch cards. Let me see, let's put one up, like these like zombie sketch cards. And so I had these as an add-on for just $5, which is like super cheap. I mean, I usually charge like $30 for like an original sketch card or something. Here, you what's full screen? Oh, like, yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. That was a
yeah,
crazy good deal too. I added one of those just
yeah.
'cause,
So, and I figured most people
anytime
would.
anytime you have somebody like willing to part ways with original art for that like ridiculous
Yeah,
of a price, jump at it, because that's insanity. Like
I
that's
I
crazy.
did I did kind of make
Yeah.
a mistake, and here's some advice. You got to really pay attention. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff you have to double check and triple check. Like when I went to launch the Kickstarter, there was something in there where I had a time off or something that I entered the time wrong or whatever, and it wouldn't let me
Oh
launch
no.
it because I'm going on my live stream. I'm like, here, I'm going to launch it live. You can watch me do it, and they go to click it and it says there's a problem with your thing. So then I had to go back and figure what that was live on air. So that was kind of a misstep. So, but
You
you
know what's
gotta,
funny? I had no idea that happened during that
oh,
live
really?
stream.
I
So I
called it
guess it
off.
must have.
I threw up. Well, I threw up. I said, okay, there's a problem here, and then I threw up my video, which is about
Uh
three and
huh.
a half minutes long. So while that was playing, I was able to figure it out. You know, but
Oh, that explains it.
but
I was wondering.
the other place I went wrong was with these sketch cards, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to limit these to 10, because
Yeah.
I can't do tons of like $5 sketch cards. I mean, it's just not. I mean, it's just not. I mean, I can do them fairly quick, but I just that's not something. I mean, that's not. I'm not making any money off these sketch cards other than as an incentive to get people to back early before they're gone. But somewhere in there, I must have added a 0 or something. So instead of 10, like if you look at the thing, it says 10 available, and that's what I was saying.
Uh,
Um, I went back and I looked, and it said I had 12 backers on that, and I'm like, 12? How is there 12? I only put 10. And I went back and looked, and it said 100. I'm like, oh my
Oh
gosh,
no.
am I gonna have to do 100 of these sketch cards at $5? So I'm like, and then I went in to try to change it, and it said I can't change it if once somebody backs it, you can't change it. I'm like, oh man, I am in trouble. But luckily, I could cancel it. So after it got to 12, I was able to like cancel it. So, so anyway, and there's a chance, that I may do some either another round or like maybe towards the end of the campaign or something similar, really cheap, just to get people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely didn't want to do 100 of those things.
So in case somebody is like in my scenario, right, and they already backed it, right?
Yeah.
Is something they should be paying attention to, in particular, if like you do an add-on or anything that is new? Because I know that you were saying on the stream that you can add stuff like through the campaign, even if you've already backed it.
I believe you can, yeah, and that's one thing I'll probably take advantage of in one way or another. So yeah, what I'll do anytime I do add something new, I will send out, because Kickstarter will allow you to send out, a message anyone that's already backed the campaign, like an update. Like if you back Kickstarters,
Nice.
you get these updates, and they'll say, oh, we're fully funded, or this, or here's the next thing. So anytime if I add something new to the tier, I'll let everyone know so they can easily go in and add that to their pledge. Because also, I mean, you got to think when you're doing these Kickstarters, the people that have already backed, those are your like core fans and people that love your work. So those are the most likely that if you come up with something else cool, they might add that to your pledge. And who knows, towards the end of the campaign, when say maybe at this point in time you're like, oh, I'm kind of, I've only got so much disposable income, but then maybe you get your taxes back. You're like, oh, I want to spend that on art, and it gets to the point at the end of the thing. You're like, oh, I can add this and this and this. So you never know. I mean, but the people that are already there, once you get somebody to back, I mean, don't just ignore those people, because there might be something else that they want to add to that.
I love that. Real quick, so you were mentioning that you set your goal to basically hit it to where at the bare minimum, right? You can provide like print on demand.
Yeah.
But your ambition and hope, like, so can you kind of get into like what because you've hit that goal, like day one, you hit that goal. Yeah. So what's the goal now? Just so people know, and also know your thinking behind it.
Yeah, there was a lot of thinking behind that, and whether I did the right thing or not, there's, first of all, let me say that I'm super happy with so far how it's performed. The fact that I did hit that goal. Are you still there, Josh? Your visuals went away. Just make sure you're still there. Oh, Josh is gone. I don't know if I should keep talking because he wanted to hear this answer. So let's see. I can also probably reiterate it. I wonder what happened to Josh. Or is it me that's gone? Maybe I'm the one that's gone. I don't know. People in the chat, let me know what's going on your end. Can you hear me? Or, well, I guess if you can't hear me, then yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's weird because sometimes you don't know if you're the one that's dropped off but it's Josh's picture. I don't see any response for the chat. Okay, I'm still here. Okay. All right, there you go. Okay.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure if I was the one that dropped off or you were, so we were trying to figure that out. Okay. I didn't want to
I'm sorry. No,
question.
I took off for like 2 seconds just to because I was sick all weekend, so I had a gross bit of fun stuff.
Could you hear me then?
And didn't want to.
Could you hear me? Could you hear me?
No, I had to take these off. Yeah. Okay, sorry, chat.
No. I just you had asked the question, so I didn't want to answer it without you being here. So now I'm trying to.
No, I was hoping you just. Okay, anyhow, go ahead.
You got to warn.
You got to come up with signals.
Step off. You got to say, you got to say, just answer the question. I got to step out, but okay. So
yeah, I'll be like that or something next time.
Yeah. So in answer to your question, so first of all, I'm super happy with the way it performed and everything, because I was really worried because I haven't been doing a lot of comic book content on my channel because I kind of switched my focus. So I was worried that maybe some of the people had forgot about me or that weren't interested anymore. So I just didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I hope that I was planning for a big launch and I was hoping for a big launch, but still there's always that, because if you don't hit that goal, then it's nothing, you know. And there's a couple different ways to look at it. There's a strategy of which I went with, which get a modest goal, which is about the goal I had for my last one. But you know, you want it to be. I mean, you obviously you're hoping it's going to go big, but even though I'm super happy with the way it's performed, in the back of your mind, there's two things. There's like, what if I can't hit my goal? And then there's also, what if I just go gangbusters crazy like I've never done before, and this just catches fire, and you know, and the first day I got like 10 grand or something weird like that, or even more. I mean, stranger things have happened. So you always kind of, in the back of your head, you kind of like, you have this weird hope that it's just going to go crazy. But then you have your sort of realistic goal. You have your goal that what if I don't hit it? And then you have pretty much where I was at. What I'm really happy with where it is. But I definitely set a modest goal. Like, okay, so if not that many people back it, then at least I can still create. Because this is the goal that I set. Isn't really my real goal, because that just means enough people backed it that I can make print on demand copies and get them out to the people that did back. But I really want to create a nicer product. So, you know, ultimately, you know, even though the bare minimum was what I set, kind of my minimum, kind of what I'm shooting for, so I can get to the
fun stuff.
Fun stuff, and do
like the offset
and everything.
Yeah,
I have to probably triple kind of probably where that original goal was, and hopefully hopefully even get more than that. Which it's on track to do that, because they say usually on average, whatever you raise that first day, you can usually triple it. You know, kind of is where you're. So I'm pretty much on track for that. I still like it to get bigger than that, because you know, that would be enough for me to produce all the print on demand stuff, but there's no money left over, like, you know, for me, other than the fact that I've got all this product that I can sell, which of course that would earn money if I hustle enough to sell it. So anyway, so there's like that kind of, there's that worry about, well, what if I don't hit it? So you kind of set it like a modest goal, which I did. But then, like my girlfriend was saying, you know, you should have had bigger aspirations, which, you know, that's just the way she is. So, I mean, and I agree, but a lot of people do have the same philosophy, because the goal on a Kickstarter is you ask anyone that's done a Kickstarter, the goal is to overfund. You know, if you go and look at popular Kickstarters, it says, you know, they'll say like 700% funded or whatever. And that's kind of if you set a super high goal and you just hit it, then a lot of people look at that as not as successful, even though you raised a super high goal, you know.
Yeah, I think that's sorry. I think that's the scariest thing to me about a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
like the fear that it doesn't fund, and that, you know, people are. It's kind of like everybody's worst nightmare is when they're basically like, you know, having those dreams about being like accidentally naked in a room or something, you know, and you're like, oh no, I forgot my clothes, and people are like, ha, like that's a common nightmare for most people. I think Kickstarter is the epitome of a common nightmare where, you know, if it doesn't fund, it's like, that's just, and you know what's fun is like, even in that case, so what? Right?
Yeah,
but
well,
but it is such a psychologically like just rough position to put yourself in, where you're like, I'm on the auctioning block, you know. It's a little rough.
For me, having run 3 previous Kickstarters, if I didn't fund, then that would be pretty devastating to me. But if you're new and you don't fund, there's a silver lining to that, because it's a test. It's like your test marketing. Maybe you're not ready. If you couldn't fund that, then there's probably not a demand for books if you're going to pay out of your pocket, and then you can't sell those books. So it's a good kind of, you know, gauge onto where you're at. If it doesn't fund, then you go back to the drawing board and keep working and planning. You keep building your audience, because you really do have to build some kind of an audience before. Don't just expect people to find you on Kickstarter. As every single Kickstarter, I mean, if you go to the Kickstarter now, you'll have to go, and I like I said, I took a lot of time putting together a nice campaign, and I don't know the rhyme or reason that people at Kickstarter, like some people will get like this Project We Love badge, and they'll get endorsed by Kickstarter. I've never gotten that. Like if you go to Kickstarter right now and go to comics, you're going to have to go like 15 pages down before you even find mine. And I just launched it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, like, I don't know what that formula is. I mean, there is definitely, I can tell you if you're doing not safe for work stuff, you'll probably have a better chance of overfunding. You know, that just seems to be a lot of what, like you look at any not safe for work things and it'll say like, you know, like I said, like 600%.
Who would have thought on the internet that would do well?
So, but and
bunch of horned dogs out there.
Yeah, and you know, and it's funny because people will say, "Oh, you got to do like a not safe for work variant." I'm like, my comic is about a bunch of kids. I don't think I'm going to do that. So
you know, we do need to do an episode at some point that's like almost like PSA about the weird subculture in art where people try to get you to do porn, but not like it's so it's kind of like being a model or is being an illustrator or cartoonist where it's like, oh, this is nice and all. Have you ever thought about like drawing that without any clothes? And you're like, no, I don't feel comfortable. Come on, just this one time, man. You're like, I don't know if I did. And then before you know it, you're like, that's your career. Anyhow.
So you have to have an audience, and I kind of played around with a few different things. It's been a while since then. I've been kind of really building my mailing list, which is good. I mean, that's like the number one thing. Then I was listening to I mentioned BackerKit. So BackerKit has this thing called BackerKit Launch, and basically what it can do is it can take, and it's like a $100 fee, but it takes.
Wait, BackerKit. Is that connected to Kickstarter, or is that like its own thing?
It's a. I think now they have their own platform where they can crowdfund, they can do it all themselves. But it's also like an add-on, like tools and things. Like I think they were the first people to kind of, like I said, create those add-ons and late backer pledges and things, which now is
that's cool.
Kickstarter. Yeah, so they innovated a lot of things, but so they've got this thing called BackerKit Launch, and what it is it takes if you've run previous campaigns, it'll take everyone that's ever backed and it'll put them in a mailing list, and then you can send a mailer out to a mailer out to them, you know, like an email, not physical, but you send an email track of who's backed, who hasn't, so that's not re-advertising the same people or whatever. But I was listening to a podcast. So really, if you want to learn more about crowdfunding, you definitely want to check out the Comics Launch podcast by I think Tyler James, and he's the one. He's got a comic company called Comic Tribe, I think he's got a YouTube channel. But he talks all about Kickstarters specifically for comics. So definitely check that out. That's where you learn a lot of this stuff. But they just recently had an episode on BackerKit if it's really worth it anymore, because I think now with Google, the way they parse all the different emails, a lot of that stuff's going into spam. And so I listened to it and they said, yeah, it's definitely gone down. The open rates have gone down, but it's probably still worth it. So I paid the $100. I probably shouldn't, me in my case, I can't speak for everyone else. I probably shouldn't have done that because I don't think it did anything. I got like a 5% open rate. I did make the smart decision though, not because it told me it took everyone that's backed my previous Kickstarters and said, okay, you've got like a total of 250 backers or something, and it put them on that list. It said we recommend you having more people on your list, which makes sense. Yeah. So I thought for a second, like, okay, do I import everyone from my mailing list? I'm like, I don't want to do that because I know I can get through Substack, I can get a good open rate, like 50%, which is really good. And I didn't import all my contacts, which is good because I think if I would have imported them into that, then I would have got a lot less people would have seen it because it would have probably because it would just go straight to their spam or whatever. So that didn't really work for me. So I'm not going to use that, even though I paid for it. I'm not going to use that anymore. I'm going to go directly to the Kickstarter thing and post updates to my previous campaigns and let people know what's going on. Because I didn't. And
that's smart of Kickstarter to integrate that stuff to, I mean, it's sad for that did all the innovation and stuff, but that's a smart way for a company to stay relevant is like go, like maybe we should add these things. Like, I think that's actually really good that they have that now.
Yeah. So
But that's a good tip too for anybody who's like looking into possibly using back kit or whatever.
Yeah, so the mailing list is the key. I was just listening to the Ink Pulp podcast, and Sean Crystal, who kind of runs that, had like an interesting thing that I hadn't thought about, but I would definitely integrate it to the next one. Is that because you can set up a pre-launch page where people can go, which I did. You can go and you can say, notify me when the Kickstarter goes live. But he did something interesting that if you join that pre-launch page, somehow he fixed it so you would get a free like sketchbook PDF. So that's another incentive to get people, because that's how I build my mailing list, because that's why I was able to create a pretty decent sized mailing list, because if you want to get the Comic Maker Starter Kit, that puts you on the mailing list. And in order to keep
that's
people
a
on the
steal.
mailing list, yeah, and if you want to keep people on the mailing list, every single month I give another free thing out. So that hopefully keeps people on, rather than, oh, what's the next free thing I'm going to get next month, instead of I got my free thing, then I'm going to bounce, which some people do, and then they don't get any extra free stuff. So but the mailing list is the most important. There was a surprise that first I want to kind of go back, because I was talking about, I kind of got sidetracked, but I was talking about that original funding goal. I'll get back to what I was saying. So I'm all over.
Yeah.
But
with the offset. Yeah.
Jen, my girlfriend, said, you should have created a high, that higher tier. And I was like, well, that's not really what most people on Kickstarter do. And then I started to think about it. She was probably right, because after I hit that goal, like the second day, and this is a little bit typical too, but you usually have a drop off of it. I had a pretty big drop off the second day. Like I haven't had a lot of people back today. So if you're watching, you want to back it back today, help me out. And go to youngandthedead.com to do that. But
you also should, because you never know. These things are pretty cool and very unique products. Like, it's not like this is some corporate, company like shoving stuff down your throat. It's like an independent artist who, has cooked this thing up for like 10 years, and it's a great book. And the more bad, more likely it is that it'll be a beautifully printed book. Like, not that it won't be otherwise, but like we could, help Scott get the level of printing up like substantially. So
you're gonna get a better
back it.
Too.
Yeah.
But So, and then I started thinking about it, and she's probably right. I probably was just too worried. But there's also the idea, everyone says you really want to hit your funding goal in that first 24 to 48 hours, which I did.
Yeah.
Because that's supposed to give your product a boost and everything, and maybe Kickstarter sees it and they give you the little, endorsement or whatever. So I definitely did that. So that's good. But I think if I even though I think most people that are familiar with Kickstarter understand that the goal isn't to hit that original thing; it's to go beyond it. But I think, but not everyone knows that. Not like we've been sharing it out on Facebook and stuff, which is what I'm going to get to, which I was about to bring up, but. And a lot of those people aren't familiar with Kickstarter. They just like you as a person. They want to check out what you're doing or whatever. Yeah. And they may go and they may see, oh, he's already funded. So he's reached his goal. That's all right. He's good, not really understanding. Plus, maybe if I would have set a higher goal, people would have been like, oh, he's almost there, and keep going up. So those are just things you have to think about. I'm not, I don't regret the way I set it up, but she may have been right that maybe I should have set a higher goal, because I would have reached it, obviously, because at least by the end of the campaign, because I did so good in the beginning. But back to
the other thing is hindsight's 20/20, right? And these are things you learn as you go. So like, even if you guys like are noting this is also Scott kind of sharing with you guys on the pluses and minuses of that decision, where he's like, hey, it's good because it got me to my goal real early, and that theory where it's better to kind of get to it early, but then he also went through like the negatives for you guys, so you guys can glean what you will from it, if you run your own, right? Yeah. And also, so you guys can go back the thing if you haven't yet, so we can get a beautiful offset printed book. Anyhow. All right. We're about an hour in. We haven't mentioned it. We do have a lot of Kickstarter. Why don't we mention where people can go to back it if they're like listening and they're like, I should do that.
There's a ticker right at the bottom here. Just go to youngandthedead.com. I think Josh put a link in the description too. So go there.
I did the long link.
Yeah, here.
But youngandthedead.com is a lot easier to remember.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I mean, I can hold on what I was going to talk about, and I can pull up the page and kind of show some of the stuff on there since we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea because I don't want us to get so lost in the process sauce that we forget to promote the very that you've been laboring over for 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you guys are fans of Artcasters, this is a big deal. This is a big way to support Scott, and you should if you haven't yet. I know a lot of us already have, but yeah. So Scott, why don't you jump us through the tier?
Yeah, go.
Walk us through it real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. And then excuse my big name right there, but that's just up there. So I got a really cool video that I put together. You can check that out if you go there. It'll talk all about the project. But you can see right now we are at $1,555. We've passed that first goal, but we got to get more than that because to ultimately do what I want to do and give you the best product. So we want that to pick up. But let's see. So I'm going to kind of scroll through some of the rewards here, right here on the side. See, this is where I said this wasn't a feature before, where you could kind of see what all the different things were. So the entry level is just the digital copy of any issue you choose. So you get to pick that, and down here, this is another thing that it shows everything that's in each of these different tiers, and you can always add things on and stuff. So you can back there. Oh, shoot, that's wrong. You can back there. The next step up is the $10 pledge, which is the full trade, the full story in digital format. Then we've got the single issue, and then when you get the single issue, you also get this zombie survival guide print, which is basically it's like a journal page. And I want to print this on like glossy paper that you can use like a dry erase marker, and you can write stuff down and then wipe it off. But it just keeps track of, if you were in a zombie apocalypse, all the different things that you keep track of during there. And I think there's a bigger version of it, a picture of it you can kind of see that I'll get to in a minute. But so anyway, so there's a single, you can pick whatever single issue at the $20 level, the or the $35 level. That's when you get the trade, plus you get the digital copy, plus you get the zombie survival guide. Then we're moving up to the next one, which I think that's the one you said because you wanted the single issue and the trade. So $40 you get the single issue, the trade, plus the zombie survival guide print. Then we move up to the next tier and this is, let's see if there's still some available. There's a limit of 10 and 5 of them have gone already. So there's still a chance to jump on this. But here, just to give you an idea, here's a $40, this is a $40 tier right here for just $15 more. You get a sketch drawn on the cover. You get a remark drawn on the cover.
That's crazy, guys.
So there's that, and then, again, that's limited, so that could be gone soon. And then the next step up, we add a blank sketch cover. So for $65, and that's something that you can just design your own sketches on. I know there's a lot of artists that watch us that might want a sketch cover to draw their own version or whatever. Then the next sketch up, and when we stair step these, anything that's in the previous one is usually included in the next tier. So we got everything that you got before, plus an original sketch cover drawn by me. That's at $150 because it's an original piece of artwork. And then the granddaddy of them all is the big thing, the $500 tier, and that's got the original, everything else plus the original cover art for issue number 6.
And that's like a crazy good price for cover art and all that you're getting with it too. That's great. Somebody should jump on that.
So yeah, I'd be very happy that happened. So anyway, so here I'll kind of go down. We've got this is the trade, at least the front cover, and it's got a wrap and round cover, which we'll kind of get to. We talk about, we show some previews. We talk about what the story's about, which also is included in the video. You can, if you watch the video, but you get some preview. Obviously a lot of cool action and stuff. Kids fighting zombies. This is all stuff that's happened in the previous issue. Now, if you're new, if you're coming back, then we get into what's happening next. So we've got the issue 6, and then some previews of some stuff that happens in issue 6. Not a whole lot because there's so many spoilers. And then this is a kind of a good, if you're thinking about running a Kickstarter, let people know what your books like. What are some other things that people might like that it's similar to? So I just put, if you like Goonies, Monster Squad, Gremlins, Stranger Things, Night of the Living Dead, then you'll love Young of the Dead, No Zombies Allowed. And then we get into kind of the stuff I already showed you, but a little bit bigger, so you can kind of see. And I try to make it all look very retro, like an old VHS cassette with the design and stuff like that. But here's the different
I love
tiers.
I really like the stripes on the border. I appreciated that.
And then
Scott's branding is always on point.
Here's when we get to the add-on. Well, actually, I was inspired by Keith Foster. He did a Kadoja and a Tree Protectors cover set that was inspired by old VHS covers, and they look real cool. And I'm like, oh, I want to do something like that.
That's rad. I need to dig in. I literally bought all of Keith and Scott's stuff at their cons at the con, because I realized like I've known these guys for a while and I haven't bought many of their books. So I was like, I just bought them all while I was there. I was like, might as well. But now I have reading to do. You know?
I've been reading. I just read, I think, Wonders of Melisande 3, and I read Space Minotaur, and so I'm kind of
that one I'm the most excited about.
Just
with the name
it's super
Space
fun.
Minotaur.
It's super fun.
Is it what it sounds like? I mean, it sounds like it should be a rad, just fun blast. Okay.
So now we're getting into the add-ons. So these you can add on. If you already pledged at a physical level, you can add any of this stuff to it. So if you want an extra, like if you're missing the issue, say number 4, you can add that or whatever. So those are available. If you want another trade paperback, you can do that. Say if you bought the Remark one version, but you also want one that's not Remarked, you can add that to your pledge. Or if you want to give one as a gift or just have 2 copies, you can add that. These are the sketch cards that are sold out. Supposed to be 10 available, but there's 12 because I messed up. But so a couple extra people got lucked out and got a sketch card there. Here's the postcard bundle that has Joshua's print along with Corey's and one that I did. This is the Virgin print bundle. These are, and here, so I'll give you guys some advice too when you're running a Kickstarter. So these prints are kind of mini prints. They're the size of a comic book. So to me, one thing you want to do, I wouldn't offer like things like T-shirts or mugs or anything. Mugs because they can be broken. T-shirts because there's different sizes you have to take into consideration. Stuff like that. Yeah. To me, you want to. My goal is to make anything that's going to be easy to ship, and nothing's going to add a whole bunch of extra weight, but still has value to it. Still stuff that people are going to like. That I can fit in that same box. So I'm not shipping a whole separate box for something. Some people will add like toys and stuff, and that's all cool. But to me, I just want stuff that you can add to that one thing. Because the other thing I'm offering, I forgot to mention, is free shipping if you're in the US. So a lot of times, I can't think of the last time I backed a Kickstarter where it didn't tack on shipping. Mine's not going to do that if you're in the US. The price that you're backing it at, including whatever, if you have add-ons or whatever, that's the price of that it's actually going to be to ship. Now, having said that, now all this stuff here that you're seeing now, this is stuff you get if you're an international backer, or if you're a US backer and you want this stuff, you can tack it on for $35. But so international backers, it's $35 to ship, but you get this. That the U.S. backers are paying $35, and I've calculated what these prints would cost if I was to sell them at a show, and it comes out to about $40. So you're actually getting getting a bunch of extras because this stuff doesn't weigh anything. So I can add it to your international pack, and you get whatever value you're losing for paying that cost. You're getting extras that'll hopefully even it out. So that's the only way I can because I can't. Not charge for international shipping because it's just crazy. So,
but I think that's cool because I especially for our buddies in Canada, like we have a lot of Canadian friends and members of the Artcasters community, and I always feel bad because they have to pay like crazy shipping for books from the U.S. And so I love that personally, I just really like that you're including that, like being conscious of that and trying to give them a little bang for their buck because. You're right. Like you can throw in that additional, that's tough for them to make it worth their while, but at the same time, make it a more fair deal so they're not getting, kind of like having to pay like 5 times as much for the same product, Yeah.
And
I love
so
that.
say if you wanted an edition, like I said, every physical tier gets this anyway. But if you want an additional one for $10, you get this. You get the zombie print. Here you can see a little more what it looks like. A little bigger picture of that. And then we get into stretch goals. So, like I said, this is more around what I actually want to hit. A little more than that. I think if we can hit 35, then that's probably my actual what I really need to hit, honestly. But if we hit 3,000, then everyone that's backed at a physical level gets a 3D print. And if we hit that, then another stretch goal will unlock after that, and that will
Can we real quick before you cut on, because this is really interesting to me, and I think it might be interesting. Can you kind of explain to the viewers like why hitting at $3,000 is important, and like kind of the difference between offset and print on demand? As good as print on demand is, and not that would be bad, but like, what is the reason that 3,000 number, and then like I guess maybe just talk about like quantities that you'd have to put in if you're going to order offset, that kind of thing.
So I think I'm hoping I can get it for a little. It just depends. It depends how. I mean, if I like exceed all my expectations and it's. I'm guessing it's probably around a minimum of 1,000 copies I'm going to have to order. If there's like a little less, like around 800, that might be a little more comfortable because I just don't want my garage to be filled with a huge pallet of books, really. Because at one point,
I think I finally cleared Numb. I think I finally cleared those copies
to sell them. So maybe that's a good thing. But the thing is, print on demand, especially, and I was kind of surprised because I've always done print on demand for the single issues, and because they're black and white, I was able to make a decent profit on them. But when I calculated how much it cost for this trade, it was a lot more than I thought to do print on demand. Now, that's going to drastically reduce the cost of, if I can offset print them, drastically reduce what those individual issues cost. Only you have to buy more of them. So it's kind of, if you can sell them, then it's a way better deal for me. Plus the thing with offset printing is you have more control over the book you put out. You can do specialized things. You can choose. I mean, print on demand nowadays, like Comics Wellspring is great. They do give you a few different paper options. They even now have the ability to do like foil and stuff like that, which is cool. But there's just way more options and way more control over what you're printing with options.
Oh, I accidentally removed you, and I was trying to just decrease that. I was just going to show real quick. Sorry, what?
Oh, I was just we're getting close to the end of what the campaign, so I was just going to show. And then
here I'll increase that, and then remind me afterwards. I'll show you guys like one of the books my publisher printed offset just to show just the binding differences. But once we're done with this, so let's continue.
Yeah, so I ship everything in these Gemini mailers, which if you order comics, you're probably familiar with. But this is going to keep it all safe so it doesn't get banged up, and I'll bag and board everything. And so it's going to be super secure, just to let people know.
Scott always ships stuff nicely.
This is all the stuff that you get if you're an international backer. Then I just talk a little bit about myself and all that, and the risks and stuff, and just talking about how every single campaign that I've done, I've shipped on time. The book, all the artwork's done, so it's not going to be one of these Kickstarters where you have to wait forever to get, or maybe not get it all, like some Kickstarters I've backed. So
put them on blast, Scott. No, I'm just kidding.
But anyway, so you're going to get your books fairly. I said by the end of June, and it probably will be before that. So I'm not going to waste any time. If I have to, if it's going to take a while to get the prints back, I'll find when I get to figure out kind of what I'm going to do as far as printing, and I contact the printer ahead of time. It may be just me not even waiting for the funds to get back from me from Kickstarter and just put it on my credit card or whatever, and then paying that credit card off when I get my funds back, just to get ahead of it if I have to. If it's going to take X amount of time, because I want to get those things out to everyone as soon as possible. Plus, I want copies to bring to Fan Fusion and stuff. So
yeah.
So that's what we were talking about. I was kind of, before that, I was getting ready to lead into something, a kind of a surprise I had with the campaign.
Oh,
good surprise. Yeah. So I don't know. We've talked a little bit before about the Comics Lab podcast, which I listen to all the time. Great stuff, but I always say you got to take what those guys say with a grain of salt, because sometimes they're wrong, and they've been wrong on a few occasions in my opinion. And there's certain times where I've had kind of the receipts to back up where they were wrong. But they're pretty much, they're way more successful than me. But sometimes when you're successful in one area, you think you know everything about all these other areas that you don't, and then
100%.
Cognitive dissonance or whatever. But anyway, but I always listen to their advice. I just kind of think, but one of the things they say, and I would still stand by what they say, because I think in most cases it's most likely true, but they've kind of, and I've had sort of similar experience up until now, and this is kind of the surprise, is that I was not counting on Facebook for anything, because if you've been on Facebook long enough, that I built a fan page on Facebook with, like, I don't know what I think at one point it was like 1,500 people, fans on my Facebook, and then if I share something on there, like 5 people see it. It's like so stuff like that. And it's just like, and I know that if you have a link in there, then Facebook's going to suppress it, because they don't want people to go off their platform. So one of the things I get, so I'm like, well, I'm gonna try it anyway. And the reason why I brought up Comic Lab, because they've kind of said, based on their Kickstarter, what they looked at, they're getting nothing from Facebook, nothing from Twitter, but they're seeing results obviously from their mailing lists, which obviously I've seen too, and also from like Blue Sky, because they're young enough that they are not concerned about like people bouncing off their platform, and they're not trying to appease investors or anything like that. So that's still, I agree with them. That's all great advice. But I was a little surprised with Facebook, because so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try whatever. And if you know me, if you follow me on Facebook, I don't post a lot of stuff. I don't like a lot. I'm usually not on it other than I use
angry political rants, usually about rigged elections and stuff like that. But other than that, no, I'm just kidding. Because that's so opposite.
I'm really not very active at all on Facebook, which is another reason why I thought if I post on it, no one's going to pay attention, because no one, I mean, who's this guy? He's not on here, and now he's promoting something, and that's, so. But I figured, what the heck, I'll share it, because I know I have some friends, family that would probably be interested in it. So the first thing I did, I set up a Facebook post, and I intentionally, when I typed out the URL, because I want to tell people where to find it. I want to tell people if they type in youngandthedead.com, it'll take them there. But I intentionally put an exclamation point at the end so that it wouldn't make the link clickable. And, because I figured if the link's clickable, then it's going to suppress it. No one's going to see it. Well, so I posted it, and Facebook's whatever is smart enough to determine, I guess, that just to exclude the exclamation point and take that link and make it clickable. I'm like, oh great, now no one's going to see it. But to my surprise, that post got like shared like 17 times. I've never had anything shared like that amount of time. So, and I know for a fact people said, oh, I'm going to back this. So Facebook actually performed for me, and I was super surprised at that. I mean, that was the biggest surprise so far, that Facebook performed the way it did. So
it's bizarre.
Facebook, and I was wrong about that. So
I would say my own experience in Facebook is I don't tend to get a lot of new traction with Facebook for my own stuff. But let me pop this. Chris,
is Chris asking if the campaign's live? Yeah, the campaign is live, and we are live too. So yeah.
We're all alive. We're actually alive as well. It's crazy. There's just 3 levels of live. but yeah, the Facebook I think is good for like organic promotion of stuff. Like for instance, like when you post that link, I post it. That goes to all my friends, but my
Yeah.
friends are all art folk.
Yeah, a lot of
The
like I
nice
said,
thing about my
17
friends is
shares.
I don't post. Yeah, I never share stuff that I wouldn't myself buy,
Right.
and so generally, like if I share something, like one or two of my friends will probably buy it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so if I'm sharing somebody else's thing, as long as I'm kind of keeping my own curation where I'm not spamming people with a bunch of links and stuff, I think it does work because then like occasionally those friends will share and it goes to their direct network. So it's not like or I guess it's more of an organic thing rather than but the organic growth where you're just getting a bunch of strangers and getting a bunch of pumped views, I don't think that's Facebook anymore. That used to be Facebook, but I don't think that's Facebook anymore. But I still think it's advantageous because it's how most. I mean, as much as I would love a different platform to have this at this point, Facebook is the most like at least intuitive, like keeping in touch with immediate family members
Right.
and following people's families and stuff. You know, like just like friends kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not surprised that that worked, but at the same time, I'm glad it got some traction. That's really cool.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think part of it was the way I worded it, and I just put because I put like this thing's been 10 years in the making, and I'm just so excited that it's finally done, and that adds adds some it really it really talks about really the journey and everything, and people are excited about that when somebody has a big win or something that they you know
Yeah, I mean,
yeah
and don't downplay that. That is like that's not just a marketing thing. That is a real thing that I think people
oh
should
yeah
support. Is like, hey, this artist like labored over this thing for 10 years. Obviously, like people don't know. Hopefully, people know that like were you getting paid like a page rate or something for it? You could have gotten that thing done
oh
real
yeah
quick. But it's a labor of love, and like to stick with a labor of love, like who doesn't want to, like, even if it was a car somebody was working on in their garage for 10 years, and they're like, look at this beautiful car, it's like I think there's something worthy about that. I think people connect with, because it's
yeah
like we all have goals we're trying to achieve, and you just achieved a huge one, and now you're in the club, like the graphic novel club, which is cool.
not until I actually hold it in my hand, but yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. I see that printed one. Oh, speaking of, just for anybody who's curious about the offset, this is why you should fund his book. Okay, so
Oh yeah
Jacob's Apartment.
okay
I'll just put myself real quick, just so you guys can see. Can I? Okay, I'm gonna pop this on.
okay
So this book, beautifully printed, matte printing. You can feel the difference of a offset book. You can see the difference in the way that, especially full bleeds, go all the way to the edge. The color is much more clear, and then the key thing is the binding. I don't know if you guys can see that. It may not. Maybe it's getting blown out by the light. Let me try to turn it this way. Can you see how that's got like little loops at the edge?
Mhm.
That's because that's saddle stitched. Like
Yeah
not saddle stitched, but it's
no,
it's similar to
perfect
saddle
balance.
stitching. It's perfect bound, but it's perfect bound in signatures, right?
Yeah
Which
yeah
makes the book more durable for life.
yeah
So this is why, like, books like this will last, for 40 years or something. Print on demand books have a little bit more trouble with that. Not that that's bad, but that's why we're trying to get Scott over the top so that you can have beautiful like signatures, which are in like 16-page increments, um, and then kind of bound to like that's really cool. And either way, it's going to be. But I want us to get Scott all the way there so we can get like the the most beautiful version
yeah
of this you can possibly imagine.
yeah because I'll start. I mean, I haven't totally figured out what the next stretch goal is once we hit that 3D print one, but it will probably be something to the quality of the book or something included in the book, extras or whatever. So you'll be getting a better product. So yeah, I'm excited.
I love Jim's comment here. He said, "I'm confused. Are the living dead and are the dead living? And is Kickstarter live for the young and the dead?" I didn't even think about that. We could do a whole bit, like a who's on first with like my Kickstarter Young and the Dead is live. Wait, but I thought you said it was about dead. No, it's live. Who?
Yeah, I was playing around with a few different takes on that because every time I thought about that when I said it's live or whatever, I was trying to think, but I didn't want to confuse people. So
you could start just going, "It's live," know?
Yeah, it's live. Yeah. If I was doing a book, I definitely would do that.
That's true. It's not quite the, but yeah. I'm excited. I think that Scott did a live stream as well on his channel that you guys should check out, where he was making some of the sketch drawings on like the sketch cards. Yeah. And then make sure you guys, you guys already are, but if you aren't, follow Scott because I'm guessing he's going to be doing some more live streams and stuff too as it goes, and announcing stuff and working on art and.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to definitely keep in front of people, so you'll be seeing a lot more live streams. There'll be more drawing. I'll probably be doing some sketch covers. I'll probably show how to do remarks or whatever. So there'll be a bunch of videos coming out. But I've got that first live one that I kind of talked about the Kickstarter, and I kind of did a sketch card on there. And then there's another video that just talks about. It just kind of talks a little bit about my journey on there, and it talks about just how great all those 80s kid action films were and stuff like that. So you can check out both those videos on my YouTube. But pay attention because I'll be doing more live streams. I'm probably even have another live stream before the end of the week, at some point, or over the weekend or something like that. So so I want to keep in front of people. I'm trying to get on some podcasts and things. I was on if you check out the Making Comics podcast, I'm on this week's episode. So you check that out. I'm just trying to figure out a way to get out to as many people while this thing runs and keep kind of reminding people that it's out there. So
I love that. Real quick, if you guys are listening to this too, from what Scott was saying, just 17 shares right on Facebook led to some extra sales and stuff for him. So that's 17 people. That's not a lot of people just taking like 1 minute of their day to like share. And I know, like, in the YouTube world where everybody's like, share, subscribe, like, sometimes that can kind of almost fall into the distance, but share it. Like, if you guys are backing this project, share it, especially, like, if you like our community, too, because, like, dude, Scott, is OG on Artcasters here. I came on after Scott, on this thing, but, he's part of the lifeblood of this channel and stuff, so share it, not trying to guilt you guys, but, take a minute, share the Kickstarter campaign, let people know, people like if you know somebody who's really into Goonies, dude, like, or, they're really into, Skeleton Crew and Star Wars, be like, dude, I know you like Skeleton Crew, this is your thing, because, like, honestly, they will dig that, so I would share it. Chris just said I just shared it up to 20 now. Nice.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, one thing I'll mention. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for a long time. Like I said, I've got the Making Comics 101 series. I've got thousands of videos on making comics. If any of that has ever done you any good or anything, and you want to give back to Kickstarter, and it's not like and you're still getting something back. It's not like you're just donating money to me because you're getting the product. So, and if for whatever reason you're not in a position to back it, if you can't do it financially, then share it. That doesn't cost you anything. So, share those posts out to whoever you can, let people know about it, because chances are somebody's probably might be into something like this. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Scott, congrats again for getting through the first leg of it feels like you finished the marathon, but you're right. Like you had said that before, it's not done till it's in your hand.
I know. It's just kind of, I was on such a high after yesterday hitting that goal and doing so well. And then the second day is just like, so I want to get that back up. So I'm going to do everything I can to let people know, but yeah, it is kind of like, oh man, now the work really begins, because I gotta really push this and let people know, because all like hardcore people are already jumped on it. Now I got to find the people that maybe just didn't hear about it. I mean, there might even be hardcore people out there that didn't hear the way email works now, and with Google just putting like stuff in different things, and and
activate the army. I mean, you have like a tiny little, it's I'm saying tiny, but like we have smaller audiences, than a lot of people, but our small audience can be a little militia, have them go out and be guerrilla style campaigns,
And people doing that. I mean, I've seen people sharing it and just saying, "Hey, this is check this out. This is somebody I know that something really cool." Or So I mean, like I said, I'm just super thrilled that post has been shared so much on Facebook. That was the big surprise. I just thought Facebook was like not going to do anything. I love it, because there was a time. Real quick, there was a time when Facebook was really the way to market your stuff for Kickstarter, and my second, because Facebook really helped out on my first Kickstarter. Second Kickstarter came around, I'm like, okay, I'm going to lean into Facebook, and what happened is one of these weird things with algorithms or whatever, or robots trying to figure out how to be human. But I launched my book and went to share it out on Facebook, and Facebook flagged everything as dangerous to kids because it had the word kids and and it said, I
remember when that happened, and I think it's one of those things of like, wow, I never thought about that, but I understand why the algorithm freaked out, because it's dead and young.
And by the time they figured out that I was able to contest it, and they said, oh no, this is okay, and somebody actually looked at it, was like way past that crucial 48 hours. So that second Kickstarter, that was not fun. But
I still get baffled by that.
Part of my prejudice against Kickstarter, but they so far this time around, I've been really impressed that I'm not Kickstarter, but Facebook. I think I said Kickstarter, but
that's okay. We're talking about a lot of these things right now. So well, I mean, like it's a huge thing. It's funny. Jim was asking us like the emotions that you went through on this, because it feels like just witnessing it from like the side or whatever. It feels like it's an emotional roller coaster. This whole thing, the act of creating a comic is an emotional roller coaster. That big of a project. But then on top of that, to have to go on another roller coaster, and now you're like right at the beginning of this, like it's going.
Kickstarter is like almost a full-time job. Once you launch a Kickstarter, you really have to. I mean, you've got to set aside that month or however long you're running your Kickstarter for to get the word out and let people know. I'm finding that out now, because I thought I might have a good 48 hours still with like a big boom. But it was kind of, I had that big kind of 24-hour boom, and now it's like, okay, now it's kind of like, so I got to take it back up again. So
congrats on
having to back it now.
Yeah. So again, like successfully funded, which is exciting, but we want to get further so that we can have Chris was like 152 pages. Yeah, that's a beast, right? And again,
six issues. One of those issues being quite a bit larger than the other one. So yeah.
Yep. And the cool thing about it is, again, like this club may not
like maybe the graphic now.
Nice.
Or you? Yeah. No, you are.
Not yet. Yeah. But I do feel like it's a club that maybe is full of a bunch of people who are insane, but at the same time, welcome to the Completed Graphic Novels Club. Once it's in print, that's where we'll actually be able to like really celebrate. But and then if you guys are watching stuff, I think if you take anything away from this too, it's also persistence. Like, stay at these projects, even when life throws you a curveball or things feel like you don't have enough time. If you carve away at these things and you determine to finish, you inevitably end up with a product. Like it's just a lot of it is just the will to kind of go through it, which is awesome and huge. And I'm glad you stuck with it too, because I'd be really bummed if you hadn't finished it. because it's such a cliffhanger, the last issue. So I mean, the issue before this.
I think you guys are going to be satisfied with the ending. I think, yeah. I really try to do my best to wrap everything up, and there's some callbacks to early issues, and and I think everyone gets their moment to shine, and
I love it. Okay, should we close out?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll plug my stuff real quick. You're on my channel. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we go live. Obviously, before anything, back Scott's Kickstarter right now. That should be everybody's primary focus. If you're into really personal indie comics that take 10 years to complete, check out Two Stories, my graphic novel about faith and mental illness, and then Jacob's Apartment, which is a story about two long-lost lovers who, as they fall for each other, dreams and reality interweave. In a story that's like if you took Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, put it in a blender with Ghost World, and you'd end up with Jacob's Apartment. And also check out my music on Spotify. But before any of that, youngandthedead.com should be the primary place you're going. Scott, one last time, where should everybody go to find you? And also, like, if they like, wax packs, like, there is a wax part of the tiers, guys. So guide people there, and then let them know how to keep track of this crazy train. You can get the Young and the Dead wax pack trading cards, 9 cards, bubblegum. That's a tier that you can add on to the Kickstarter. Like Josh said, if you can go to my website, circworks.com. There'll be actually on circworks.com. There's a big giant banner for the Kickstarter there too as well. So you can find the Kickstarter there. You can click on that. Or you can just go straight to youngandthedead.com. That'll take you right to the Kickstarter campaign. How you get there, it doesn't matter to me how you get there. Just get there, And then and this show, we do this show every single week, the Artcasters. We usually have a special guest. We'll have a guest next week, but today it was just, I guess I'm the special guest, even though I'm here anyway. But well, you're always special, Scott. So, but yeah, we have a mailing list, and all that mailing list is for is to let you know that we're going to go live. It'll tell you who the guest is going to be, what the topic's going to be, and we usually send that out hopefully about a half hour before we go live. We sent one out today, so if you were in the know, you would have got alerted. YouTube doesn't always alert people when stuff's going live, so that's the best way to do it. Plus we're on different channels. This week it's on Josh's channel. Next week it'll be on my channel. So it's just that can get confusing. We don't want to confuse people, so that's why we created this mailing list. We don't spam or anything. All it's going to do is alert you when we're about to go live. So click on that and click on also the link, or just type in youngandthedead.com to go to the Kickstarter. I love it, and I'm also just eagerly excited about where we're going to go after Young and the Dead too. Which should be following Scott for that. One thing at a time, but I'm excited about the next project, and I'll be sharing a lot. Me too. If you're into hip hop, I think you'll get too. Anybody who's listening. All right, we will see you guys on the next one. We really appreciate you guys. Like I said, we rely on a very tiny little guerrilla fighting force for us, and we appreciate our little community here at Artcasters. You guys are amazing, and give us strength and allow us to do this every week, and encourage us to do this every week, and I sometimes give us the boost to get through something like a 10-year project. So we really very much appreciate you guys. Go support Scott's stuff, and with that, I'm going to close us out. Wait. In the chat. Oh yeah, awesome. Yes. Okay. Bye.